Hello and welcome to this episode of Microchips, and on the bench today we have this AF-320 160 channel AM/FM CB transceiver. But before we start, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, join the Facebook group, join Patreon, have a look at my website microchips.net. And now a quick word from our video sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay is a China Shenzhen based PCB manufacturer and circuit board assembler. PCBWay are currently enjoying their 10th anniversary with some great promotions on their website. You can get some great coupons for your next order, and you can get an exclusive badge and an exclusive coupon. You can put yourself on the map with other PCBWayers. You can take part in a charity badge sale where proceeds go to good causes and win some fantastic prizes in their lucky draw. And PCBWay is committed to meeting all your PCB needs. They offer quality and on-time delivery. Competitive pricing for 1 to 2 layer boards just start at $5 with 24-hour turnaround. So get an instant quote today by visiting PCBWay.com or click on the link below and check them out. Thanks PCBWay for sponsoring the video. Appreciated as always. So onto the radio. So we've started unboxing, and as you can see we've got everything with it, which is very kind. This radio was actually given to me by a viewer who said I could use it, see if I could get it working, because it has got issues. So yeah, thank you very much for sending this in. It's most appreciated, and I wasn't expecting it to be fully boxed with all the accessories, to be honest, but it is. So yeah, it's really nice. So here we have the radio. Now you may recognise it looking like a ham Puma or, you know, Major 120 or something like that. Well, it is and it isn't. We'll get to that in a moment. So we'll open it up, and the first thing that I see, it's a SSB circuit board but without the SSB parts, which is really strange, but it means there's none of the issues that you have with the 092 board. And as you can see, we've got missing outputs, so we can fix that. There's no problem. You can see all the SSB parts are missing, no filters or anything. There's no parts on the bleep board, just the relay. Got 4 crystals down there, which is normal standard green VCO. And yeah, really bizarre just to use it as AM/FM. And as you can see, it's PTBM 125 A4X. So let's see if we can't get this working. So I'm just having a look at the area where the outputs have been removed. It doesn't look damaged or anything, so we should be able to resurrect that. Now inside the instruction manual is a schematic which I've scanned and put in the group. So we're injecting a signal on channel 1 high band, and not a lot happening just yet. So I've got an issue. Do we have a VCO fault? Do we have a PLL fault? Because we should be getting a carrier and a tone. So not a lot happening at the moment. Let's investigate a little further. So I've got my meter on the VCO test point, and changing the channels alters the VCO voltage, which you would expect. So the PLL thinks it's working. Well, some part of it's working. So let's carry on, see what we can find. And just as I was touching the side, I noticed the audio amp was getting scorching hot, which concerned me a bit. So I'll put my meter across the speaker terminals, and this is what I found: 7 volts across the speaker. And maybe that's why there was a label on it saying the speaker was faulty, because 7 volts across the speaker would certainly burn it out. So okay, that needs to be addressed. Have we got a faulty audio amp? the main decoupling capacitor from the audio amp isn't short. It's reading a bit high, but it's not short. So that's our output of our audio amp, showing 7 volts, which is fine. But why is that 7 volts getting to that output? So I took the audio amp out and had a look, and I did notice there was a wire connected to the output pin, which didn't immediately make me think there was something strange, but we'll get to that in a moment. So I'll replace the audio amp with a non-working one, and we're still getting 7 volts on the main output. And now to this orange wire. This is the issue. I don't know whether somebody had been in there or whether it's from the factory, but there's our audio amp, and there's the decoupling capacitor on the output, and the wire was actually connected directly to pin 1. So that would have put 7 volts across the speaker. As you can see as we follow it down, we've got the orange going to the cell coil and off to the speaker terminal. So was that a problem from the factory? Had somebody done that? To me it looked like it was from the factory because all the soldering was good. So there's our orange wire going to the socket at the back, and if we touch, there's our sound. So somebody had put this orange wire in the wrong place. So with the orange wire correctly placed, go across the speaker terminals, and sure enough, no voltage. So that's that fixed. And we have an output now, but it seems to be intermittent. Or should we say we have a receive, but it seems to be intermittent. So we need to try and find that. Maybe that's why at first we couldn't receive anything, and then all of a sudden it just sprung to life. I'll have a little chat about these radios later on in the video. But touching anywhere near the PLL area was causing us issues. So I didn't actually film the actual dry joint I found. But you can see it's very, very touchy around the PLL area. Just by touching it very gently, brings it back up again. So the actual problem was the connector that comes from the front channel change to the PLL. We had dry joints on there, soldered that up, and it was all good. So as you can hear, it's absolutely rock solid now, not going on or off. So that's another problem fixed. So was that the original problem that this radio had, or was it just multiple problems? Now these radios were part of that container that was found, that was bought by a Romanian person. As you can hear, Super Bowl on Channel 6 is coming through nicely. So apparently these radios, and the ones very similar to it, were all from Gamond Stereo in Switzerland, and these were returns going back to Cybernet. But before they could get back to Cybernet, Cybernet stopped trading and they were forgotten, and then discovered years later in Switzerland. And the rest is history. People bought them, people sold them, and this one was one of the faulty batch. So anyway, onto the transmitter. Let's see whether the transmitter behaves itself. So with no outputs in, using the tiny SA, we can see that the radio thinks it's transmitting. So it just looks like our output transistors are missing, because we're getting a carrier on the correct channel, which is right. Yep, everything's looking good there. So did somebody take the outputs out of it because they just needed to have one for another radio? Who knows? Who knows the past on these things? But yeah, the radio thinks it's transmitting. So let's rebuild the output stage. Just doing a test reception on another radio. So we'll check this second-hand 2166 that I found in my drawers. So yeah, it's reading good, so now it should be fine. So we'll use this 2166. So I'm just checking between the collector and the chassis, making sure that my insulator is good, making sure it's not shorting out to the chassis. Let's get this soldered into place. Luckily none of the traces were damaged, so it's just a simple case of putting it back in. With the excessive use of solder. There we go, very nice. So just doing a quick transmit without the final in. We've still got a carrier and a stronger receive signal on my test radio. So it sounds to me that the pre-drive is working. Now on this one I'm going to try a MOSFET output instead of putting a 1969 in here, which is probably worth more than the radio, but you know, so for a MOSFET we need to have a companion board, and we also need to do some jiggery pokery from the TX 8 volts line to get the correct bias in. So basically I just followed what I'd do on a normal Cybernet radio and tried to make it as you would for this radio. So we're getting 3.5 watts at the moment. The bias isn't set quite correctly. And once we'd set everything up, we had a healthy 7 to 8 watts coming out of the radio, so I think that's good enough. And everything sounded good on FM and AM, so yeah, I think it was a win, that one. So we're just going to have a check of the frequencies. So low band, mid band, high band, super high band. Yep, all good. That's good. So the same viewer who sent me that radio said to me, oh, I'd watched a video on the HB 940 and I noticed your case was in really bad condition. I have some spare cases here that were off the 320 that you just saw. Would you like one? Just measure it up. If it fits, then I'll send you one. So he did. It was very kind of him, and I appreciate that. As you can see, the really terrible job of covering that. But if you remember back to this video, this lid was totally rusted. And yeah, it was kind of beyond fixing, unless you put some, you know, serious body filler on it. So yeah, a few days later, through the post come these replacement lids, and the screw holes that screwed them in were just a tiny little bit offset, so just had to file them out just a tiny little bit. But as I got the lid off it, my eyes just glanced over the channel change and noticed a load of dry joints on the channel change, which mustn't have caused any problem when I first did the radio, but they're definitely flapping about in the breeze, so we're going to solder those up. So there, job's a good one. Very nice. And there's our replacement lids fitted, so let's transform this radio back into something that looks really nice now. So yeah, thank you for sending those in. So here's another radio that come from the same containers that were found. I'm sure there was lots of other ones like the CB Master and the Telsat home bases. But the other one there is the AFS-1005, so that's a AM/FM sideband radio. Looks like the Cybernet Beta 3000. And it's a really nice compact SSB radio. Packs quite a punch as well. This one was working when I got it, so there was no point doing a video on that. But we've got all the original microphones with it. And the AF-320 works nicely now. So that's another one saved. So anyway, if you like the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, join Facebook group, buy me a coffee, join Patreon, have a look at my website, microchips.net, where all my boards are. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.